Yo, 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 welcome to Crate 808 and break out the Headcheese, because it is another episode of Hip Hop Heads Talking Horror. And today, no bones about it, we are celebrating 50 years of not just the best horror film ever made, in my opinion, maybe just top film ever made. We are talking about 1974's The Texas Chain Saw Massacre. And joining us, it's Hip Hop Heads Talking Horror, their families have always been into meat. It's Myke C-Town, Thomas Hobbs and Alaska Atoms, with some special guest contributions, including Sadistik, who you shall hear later in the episode as well. And man, they're all joining us. Before anyone gets into it, we are spoiling the shit out of this classic. It's been 50 years. If you don't know, you need to know. Guys, we've done a few Texas episodes, but I'm really looking forward to this one with you guys. How are we all doing? Myke, how are you doing? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited to talk about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Alaska, how you feeling?
Same. Super stoked to talk about this one. It might be my favorite movie ever, like you said. So
we are one. This is the Dutch Dylan meme. Thomas, how are you?
I gotta give Myke props for his South of Heaven shirt.
Thanks, man.
My
favorite Slayer album. Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Always repping. I love that.
It's like one of my all-time favorites as well.
Thomas, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, good, man. I can't wait to talk about that. One of my all-time favorites. So.
Nice. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. So let's start then. Let's just kick it off, because you can talk. I was thinking about how do we even approach this? It's too big a film, like it's too big a moment. But I was thinking it is 50 years, right? And 50 years is a long time. Like 1974 feels like a long time ago. So, I mean, we've just talked about how good this is and how much we love it. Alaska, I'll hit it off with you. Why, after 50 years, is this film still got power over us? Why is it still lasting? Why are we going to take this to the grave with us as probably one of our favourite films ever?
I think it's just like the emotions that it brings out when you watch it, right? Like, I don't think, like, a lot of the movies that we talk about and we see, like Halloween. I never need to see Halloween again, right? Like, as great as the original was, like, everything that's come after it has ruined it for me to an extent. And as bad as the Texas Chain Saw Massacre series has been after this, I still kind of love the series, but this movie is so strong that stench does not attach to it in any way. There's just something like really primal about it, and the fears that it builds in. It's like, it's a total sense of hopelessness in this movie. Like, you know, even when the hero escapes, they're damaged forever, right? You know, like that person is gone forever. There's no coming back from what they went through. It's something that is horrifyingly real. Like, especially if you like live in the States and you've traveled around, like, touring the country as a musician, driving through parts of the world like that, where you're just like, this shit is sketch as hell. You know, like, I'm not getting gas at this place, or I'm not, like, stopping in this town. You know, you kind of feel that weird, like, I think I don't know if it is uniquely American, but there is something about, like, the hopelessness of towns built on an industry that's left. And you feel that, like, really sort of, that's a fear, I think, that you have, especially as you're an adult, and then all of the ramifications and the horror that comes from that. Like, every time I watch this movie at any time in my life, it's connected to my life, you know, like,
yes,
or the world around me. Like, there's something very real about it. Whereas, like, you know, Friday the 13th, I'm not going to be at a summer camp.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about that, you know, but, like, you know, I could live in a town where the industry leaves, and then we're just sort of stuck with, like, people that are like, fuck it, we're going to eat people. You know, like, that feels kind of heavily real to me in a way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Before I go to the other guys, you've pretty much tapped onto what I was thinking, how it's so primordial. There's so many moments that are hitting a subconscious part of my brain, even to my latest viewing last week, where we'll talk about the meat hook later, but that hit even harder. And I was like, why is that hit even harder now? Because there's something in my life that is attaching to that pain. But also, yeah, and I love the idea of the fascination of like it is like the other, and I think that's most horror films always are quite good. Horror films do that really well.
Yeah.
But like in society, like that other that we never like if we're in it, like you don't know you're in it, but you don't know anyone in that horror. Like there's no one in this family that we know. Thomas, for you, what is it that lasted? Why 50 years later? Why are we celebrating this right now?
It's just so visceral and raw, and just like I think what I was always amazed at is how you don't really see any violence in the film. Like it's all suggested, and yet it makes such an impression. Like for example, like you said about them eating people, well, you don't see that, but just through seeing the barbecue, it puts that image in your brain. You know, like just from seeing the hook, like you don't actually see it go into her back, but you almost hear it in your head, even though, you know, it doesn't happen. And I think that's part of its genius. I think another part of its genius is just how relevant it is. You know, you mentioned Alaska, like death of industry. I mean, the death of agriculture, and this idea that cities will dwarf the small towns and villages, and the people will be left behind and they'll turn sort of hyper-violent. Well, you know, when we see, you know, what's happened over the last 3-4 years of politics, when you saw like, you know, essentially, let's be honest, like a lot of rednecks storming Washington, D.C. and just there's so many things that happen where you just think this film, like politically, I know people don't really say it says much politically, but it does in its own way. But I think also just the performance of Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, I think that's one of the real reasons it stands up. Like, I think he's so genius. Like, there's that scene where he's looking out the window really confused, like, where the fuck are all these kids coming from? And it's it's such an incredible scene because he communicates so much just through, like, blinking and looking out the window. You really felt like these were, like, real psychos. Like, it felt like you were watching a snuff movie. Like, you know, and I think, you know, just the fact that when they were filming this, like they were filming it in like 100-degree heat, and like the sets were like melting. You know, they had real like animal bones and like stuff that was like decomposing. So like everyone was kind of losing their mind like while making the movie. So you know, nowadays, and it's a good thing, obviously, like you shouldn't put actors through that, but I think the reality is Tobe Hooper like really like I think there was a famous quote. I think Gunnar Hansen said it actually, where he was like, when filming finished, everyone hated Tobe Hooper. No one wanted to speak to him ever again. Like, but that's part of what makes it so unique. It just captures this insanity because everyone was going insane on the set. Do you know what I mean? And I think, but I also think one of the reasons it stood up for me is the score. I think the score's unreal. Like, that first scene where you see the corpse at the graveyard and it's that noise, it's like it sounds like somebody putting their nails on like a chalkboard. You know what I mean? It's like that noise. As soon as you hear that, it's like it unsettles you and you're hooked. And I just think there's so many things going on subconsciously, like from the score to like subliminal images to like the political juxtaposition. Like it's just all like so perfect. And I think yeah, I'm very much with Alaska. Like it's one of my all-time favorite movies, not just one of my favorite horrors. And I think it's just because it is an experience. And I would just say, I'm sorry, I'm talking for ages, but I would just say like everyone should watch it in 4K. Like I definitely thought with this, it's like, you know, you don't need an Ultra HD of this movie. Like if you want to see it on a beaten up videotape, it should look fucked up. But when you do see it, you see all the little details in the background. Just kind of makes you appreciate it even more. So yeah. I just think it's a masterpiece, man. Like it's one of the greatest horror movies, and I think it's because it blurs that line between real and reality, and also everyone seems to like literally be on the borderline of turning completely insane.
yeah, and to get it on camera is pretty amazing. With ways you probably never get it made nowadays. Like, there's no way they're passing some of these laws or just morality. Like, there'll be someone on that set going, hold on a minute, we shouldn't be here for 15, 16 hours, you know, doing this, thrown up in the corner. But before I get to you, Myke, I was just going to touch on what Thomas said there about, like, you know, like obviously Capitol Hill, and as you know, like people from the underclasses, from the working classes, that, and it does feel like we're in a much more polarized time. But this also, this kind of films now, 50 years later, kind of hits on that level as well for me, where I'm like, oh yeah, shit, like, to me, I grew up in a working class background, but today, in my today world, I feel very much like I'm on the outside looking in onto that world. And this is exactly like that, where it's like, I feel like this is very trapped in the 1970s, what I perceive as the psyche of America in 1970s. I wasn't there, but, you know, just through pop culture consumption and just reading and listening and just hearing people talk about that time, it very much has the same fear of the other or the underclass that in today, well, I don't know, America definitely, but also UK, like we've literally had riots with working class racists going off, doing their thing this year in 2024.
It's the idea of like the underclasses and the yuppies kind of combining and there being this like deadly violence. But I think also like just the fact that Leatherface's character is based on so much reality. Like if you look into like Ed Gein, who was like, you know, one of the most infamous serial killers. I mean, that guy, I think one of his victims was this like local barmaid, and they didn't find her for ages, and they were looking for his house, and what he'd done is he would like rob people's graves, and he'd cut off the corpses' faces and wear the faces, and they identified this woman that he killed because they found her face, and it was a face that he would wear. So it's like a lot of the things you see in the movie, like even just like the way the house looks, is actually modeled on like how Ed Gein's house looked. So it's got this kind of really visceral link to reality that I think a lot of people don't realize, and I think that's part of the reason it's so fucked up as well, and that it kind of just makes all your hair stand up.
Yeah, definitely. So
the time when that movie was made was probably an even more polarized time than it is right now too, and it's like there's a similarity of like, you know, the corruption in your government being obviously apparent, the systems and the pillars of your society that are supposed to be there protecting you are not there. You're coming out of an illegal and unjust war where, you know, you send thousands of young men off to die and then even more to come back damaged. You know, there's those parallels now between like Afghanistan and Iraq, the U.S. government like being a shit show, the media being a shit show, the churches being a shit show, like all of the institutions are failing. So it's like there are parallels there that could kind of bring you into that similar style of world.
Do you know what you just said there is perfect? Because I was reading about how Tobe Hooper was just angry. There was an anger in this film, this remorseless at times, where you're like, this guy just is so angry that he's so angry at the world around him that he's just basically made one of the most fucked up films of all time, which is great, which is kind of great, but it's also like, don't manage your anger to, like, you know, you have all these self-help things, don't just make this. Like, today's a ripe time for this. There's so much shit going on. Someone out there make another one. But Mike, please let me know, 50 years later, why are we here now, man?
Honestly, I think almost everything that needs to be said has been said by y'all so far. I think what sits with me the most is what Alaska said about this movie feeling so fucking real. And, you know, again, like you said, I don't know if obviously y'all love the film. I don't know if the same ideas translate as well for y'all, but Alaska's in New York. I am in Georgia. Okay. I could literally take you guys an hour from my house and take you to places like this. Yep. I've driven through places like this, like Alaska was saying on tour. I have a story on my channel about a town that we got broken down like this. So this shit seems so unbelievably real, even outside of the references to Ed Gein, like the fucking the scene, the setting. I could absolutely 100% imagine rolling up to a house where there's people like this. Even before they get to the house, when they go to that weird gas station and there's all those whacked out rednecks just like drunk and just being fucking weird. Not gas station, sorry. It was like a graveyard. It was like a funeral or whatever the fuck it was.
Graveyard, yeah, where they've been digging up the graves.
Yeah. Everything about this seems real. And also, Thomas hit it on the head. Like, there really isn't a lot of violence.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, people will describe this as a violent movie, but you don't see it. Mm-hmm. But they do such a good job of not going over the top with it, of making things actually seem so realistic that you will walk away being like, God, that was brutal. But it's not. You don't see anything. That's something that the later films absolutely fucked up. But Yeah, even down to the weird sound effect. Even down to that. Like, who thinks to do that?
Yeah.
Can
And
I make
for
it?
what?
Can I make a
You
point
know?
on that? Because it's the camera flashing, isn't it?
Yes.
As I presume the hitchhiker brother is the one taking the photos because he has the camera right. So I'm guessing it's him after hundreds of viewings of this film. But we do have a section which is the most hip hop moment of the film. And I've talked to you guys about this before, but I do really feel this. I think that little ping, that sound is the genesis, is the embryo from where Muggs, Cypress Hill, and RZA got hip hop from. Like, it feels like that resides in those flashes. Like, that feels like a Muggs, Cypress Hill first album. Like, I'm right there. And I think it's more than just that. Like you said, it's obviously the imagery, the editing, going straight to the corpse. No fucking about. Out of the black, we're going straight to a corpse that's wired up like in a pose. It's mad. But just wanted to point on that, like that first sound, you're right, it's little details like that make this, which is why I was thinking it is lasted. It is a gold standard setter. Like, we've talked about Terminator Alaska, we've had Nightmare on Elm Street chat. Those are also gold standard setters of different, parts of horror. But I think this one, you can argue that, well, you could probably be right. Psycho is the first slasher trope. There's lots of slasher tropes in Psycho. I would argue that Texas might not like birth them, but it definitely solidifies them. It definitely puts them more like harder. Like, this is what a slasher film, and then you're going to hold it up to this. Everything's going to be held up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just tie
So
the
if you
leg.
want to tie it to hip hop,
Yes, please.
like
Yes, that's what
Psycho
I'm
is
doing.
like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Boom.
Texas is Eric B. and Rakim. It birthed the modern movement of hip hop that we know, like the recognizable version of hip hop.
I have
Texas
no
Chainsaw
qualms with
birthed
that
the
take.
modern slasher that we know.
I got a good hip hop reference. I got the Big Pun, It's So Hard single, and then
Leatherface on
B-side
there.
Leatherface, which I just absolutely love. And like,
I love that
think,
song.
I think he captures the energy on that track of just like Leatherface. And I think the scene that's the most hip hop is definitely, just Leatherface at the end, just dancing with the chainsaw. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the kind of weird elegance, but also like bloodthirst. Like, I feel like Big Pun's flow on that track. And he's like, you fucking with real to real, rap axe, maniac, soundboy killer, hack hack, chain react. Like, all when I was a kid. I love that. Like, I was just like, this is so cool. So awesome. But also, like, I think I would just add on, like, the sound is just so important to this movie. Like, the sound effects, the sound mix, like when he emerges from the door and hits the guy on the head with the hammer, and you hear that bone cracking noise, and just the sound. I think the sounds are just as visual. What you don't see is just as scary as what you see. And I think, that's got its roots. I think if you go back to the 40s and like a filmmaker like Val Lewton, like, he famously, it was all like what's in the shadows. Like, if you watch Cat People, there's a scene around a pool and you don't see the cat at any point, but you imagine it in the shadows because of the sound, like the way that it's shot. And I think this is a continuation of that. Like, I think Tobe Hooper, maybe it was because of budget constraints, but I definitely read that like he was like a big fan, inspired by like someone like a Val Lewton, which is really cool because it means that Texas Chain Saw Massacre, you know what I mean, like has those links to like horror from the 40s even, which is really cool.
It's evolved from it, hasn't it? Exactly. There's a monster. Talk about evolution. Can we just go back to what you were saying there, Alaska? So what you're saying is Psycho is who was it again? What did you say it was?
Grandmaster Flash.
Grandmaster Flash.
Five, like, basically like like dad rap hand style hip hop.
No, you're being harsh on Psycho, man. Come on.
but
then Rakim is Texas. So what's else? So I'm trying to think of the next evolutionary leap after Texas. So you're looking at maybe Elm Street, maybe. What's that? What's that one then? Illmatic? Is that what you're saying? Is that Illmatic? Wu-Tang? 36 Chambers?
I would say more Wu-Tang maybe, or something West Coast where it's like a whole different feel.
Yeah, like the Chronic.
I don't know. Yeah.
Chronic. Okay. I love it. I love doing this. But Mike, do you have any points on this, Mike, on the hip hop lineage?
Well, Thomas took my hip hop
Oh, and mine. It was mine as well. It was so easy, such an easy pull.
It's so easy. Like he's dancing around in a fucking circle with the chainsaw. That's the most hip hop shit ever. Except it's even like down to like 90s hip hop. Like it feels like a motherfucker dancing around with a gun in a fucking circle. And everybody's hanging around him smoking fucking blunts. That's how it feels. I know I shouldn't say that, but I said it. Whatever. But yeah, that's the most hip hop shit of the whole movie. And then it's ending with her like with that weird laugh.
Oh mate.
Like that shit is that's hip hop as fuck. At least to me.
Yeah. That last moment is I don't know how you catch that on camera. Perfect. It's just like a lightning in a bottle. Like it's perfect. The tone of it, her eyes, incredible. I was watching it again now and you see the driver and he keeps looking back like, what the fuck? Like I always think about that as well nowadays after all these viewings. What's that driver thinking? That driver's just gone on a normal drive. And it's like, what the fuck? Fair play, he stopped.
What did I just stumble on?
Yeah. The thing that I think of now as an adult when it ends is I'm like, they left bro behind.
I know.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that was like about it. Like he grabbed the fucking wrench.
Boom.
Hit him in the head.
Boom.
And just started booking it. They fucking left him, dude. Now, granted, he kept running for whatever reason.
He did keep running. I was going to say, the only...
But it's not like they were like, hey, dude, come on. They fucking just left him. So
at that point, though, at that point where it's, it's run or fight, it's just got to be, just go for it. You either go for it or not. But yeah, no, fair play to him.
In the, like the really like horrible, like Texas Chainsaw 3D, the one like, do your thing, cuz.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of that movie, there's like the flashback scene to like the mob when they roll up on their house and kill the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
The truck driver, the one that they left behind, is on the table in like the chop shop room.
That's awesome.
Later on,
that's awesome. That is a great piece of trivia. I'm always here for the trivia. You know this.
I mean, obviously it's a lookalike. It's not the dude, but
no, but still.
Do you remember that?
Oh wow.
Okay, I've got some trivia. Do you remember the remake? Remember that guy who used to run that website, Ain't It Cool News? Is it guy Harry something?
Yeah.
His like decapitated head is on like Leatherface's
table.
I always remember that.
Yeah.
And it always annoyed me because it just took me out of the movie. I was just like,
true. If you know it. But look, I had some. So this is what I'm talking about. Gold standard setter. Let's just go back to what I was saying. So you got the blueprint, right? So this is, I would argue, laid the foundation for Halloween. Maybe Evil Dead a little bit. Definitely a bit of Blair Witch in there as well. So I think about the lineage of that, man. Jesus, Halloween, Evil Dead, and that's 3 different decades of great horror films. And it also, we talked about this a while back, it inspired Alien. Like, come on, he literally said it's inspired Alien. And obviously Hills Have Eyes as well. So Wes Craven, people are getting inspired by this. Rob Zombie, you like it all. I actually like the first.
Probably even The Last House on the Left too, right? Like the realism of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
So think about that. Craven, Carpenter, Cameron.
The sort of true crime essence of it with like the John Larroquette introduction about like this is a true story. Cannibal Holocaust is in that mix too, where it's like this is a true story.
Yeah.
To the point where like people thought it was real, like they brought up the dude on charges. Right? Because he had the people hide out.
Bit of trivia for you. That guy got paid with a joint, apparently, the narrator for that. He got they paid him with a joint. That's how much that's how I love this film. But yeah, no, amazing. I also thought, is this pre-formula? As in like that first death. If you think about it, no signposting, but there's signposting, but it's subtle signposting, I suppose. But there's no like score to hammer home anything until he literally hammers it home. When he hammers it home, bang, then you hear the score. There is none of this, none of that. And it feels very pre-formula in that sense to me. Like, shit, did this create like that moment of like, actually, we don't need that. We can just do.
It's like the punk rock of horror movies, Like
in a way,
it really is. It just kind of just, creates new visual language. I think it's always going to be the measuring stick. And I think Mike, you mentioned how at the end, like she's smiling. Like, now I come to think about it, in Midsummer, when like Florence Pugh's boyfriend finally gets burned in the bear suit, she does that smile and that laugh.
Yeah.
And it's very like similar, you know. So I think you can kind of trace its lineage to any horror movie that does something radical. TCM probably inspired it in some way, you know. It's the kind of it's the measuring stick. But also, like, I think the dialogue in the film is really unsettling as well. You know, like, I think, you know, when
the only unsettling dialogue is what's his name is the guy in the wheelchair, bro. Like, he's just generally unsettling.
He's awful. He's fucking awful.
I was happy when he died.
Yeah, I think most people were, but just his dialogue alone. Where I'm
he definitely inspired the Shelley character in Friday 13th. Like, we got to do fat dudes with curly hair that you want to see killed.
Did you know, like, when the hitchhiker's like in the van and he's talking about, like, showing the pictures of all the cows that he's killed, and he's like, the old way with a sledgehammer, that's better. They die better that way. Like, I don't know why, but the first time I saw it, that really, like, was quite chilling to hear. I don't know.
But that taps into progress, bro, and the primordial thing. We've all evolved from this. We're supposed to be civilized and evolved, but there's signs that we clearly aren't. Like, he literally is like, progress, industry has moved, and we don't want that metal hammer thing. We want to just hit them. And it's just better for us because we have jobs. And it's like, oh yeah, no, it taps in because it's unsettling because you're like, oh, that's just the evolution of where we used to be, but I can fully see it in front of me now and he's got a knife, you know? And I think that's amazing. You were saying earlier about, obviously, I think what's great is the violence isn't like as apparent as you think it is, but it also makes me realise as an audience member, my role in that, if you know what I mean. As I get older, I realise, like, okay, clearly it's inspired by Vietnam, and I suppose that new idea of TV news at that time probably, which is to show you everything rather than you imagine everything's fine. And then, no, we're showing you the boys coming home kind of thing. And in colour, I suppose, at that time, right? Maybe 70s, yeah. So, no, it just feels like that sensationalised news that you get in Vietnam, us as people who are sensationalised by, like, titillated by horror, I want to see, like, Freddy, you know, was it sucking your face off? Or I want to see, like, prime time, bitch. Or, I want that, but I also feel like, oh, no, why do I want that? And it's kind of giving me that.
Do you remember the poster as well? And it's like, I think it's got Leatherface, and it says on it, who will die and what will be left of them, or it has something like that. The tagline. I can't remember what it says,
and what will be left of them. Yeah,
that's it. That's it. I remember that poster being really iconic, and like in the UK, I don't know if Alaska might know about this, but like in the 70s and 80s, you had this like woman called Mary Whitehouse, and she was on the British Film Board, and she basically had this campaign where she banned like all the horror movies of that era, from like The Evil Dead to the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and they were called like video nasties. You couldn't get them. The only way you could watch them in the 80s was to like find some guy who was selling them out the boot of his car on like bootlegs, and you weren't allowed to sell those things. And I remember Texas Chain Saw Massacre, like just from doing the research, was like that poster like made people think that it was the most violent movie in the world, but it's like, it's just crazy because it just isn't, is it? And it's like, you're right, what Myke said, or Alaska, you might have said about sequels ruined it, because it was just suddenly they're like chopping people's legs off and like doing all this hyper violent stuff, like cutting up people's groins, and I don't know, like I just think they lost it. I think the only way the film's gonna ever be revived as a series again is if they go back to the essence of like not showing too much, you know? Like I think
I don't know if
people don't want to see all that.
I'm not sure if we ever could. I don't know what you guys thought of that, but I don't know if we ever could really revive. I don't even know if it needs to. It's just one of them standalone texts kind of thing in a weird way to me. But yeah, no, Myke, did you have something? I think were you going to say something? Sorry, have I just missed something? I had it on mute for a second.
No. The only thing that I was going to interject, which I don't know, it was just always a funny thing of when I got older and went back to this movie. And then when I actually got involved with like, punk and hardcore kids and started talking about veganism and shit, it was always like, this is the most vegan movie you'll ever see. Like, where it was like, we're taking humans and treating them like animals.
Yes.
And I remember there were like multiple times, because I thought it was funny, I would bring this up to people and they'd be like, I never thought about that. And I'm like, yeah, like the way Leatherface treats I forget not Sally, but the first girl. I can't remember her name.
Oh yeah.
But sticks her up on the
meat hook.
On the hook. Mm-hmm. And then he's throwing her into a freezer afterwards, after she's like, when I watched this shit, having been doing this for 30 years, I'm like, I still don't understand how folks watch this and don't don't pick up on that, but
yeah.
and I don't know if it was intentional or if it was intentional, what the purpose was, but we've always ran with the idea that like this shit will make you stop eating meat so quick.
Yeah,
It doesn't,
100%.
but it should,
Yeah. And when they're in the barbecue, the fuel stop that sells the barbecue, there's like flies everywhere. And,
Yeah.
So gross.
and like the bit where like the guy in the wheelchair, he's got the is it Franklin? Has he got
Franklin, yeah.
And he's got the sausage in his mouth, and it looks like the most grotesque. It looks like a fucking weird tiny phallus, doesn't it? And you're like, oh,
what is happening here? Yeah.
And they're talking about head cheese. Like, I grew up. I mean, I'm sure that's not in the UK, right?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I grew up.
That's a real thing out here, man.
Oh, so wait, so you didn't do it either, Alaska?
No, I said it's a real. I never did it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, when I was younger, that was like a real thing. Like, I didn't know what was in it, of course, but we would eat head cheese sandwiches, and they were fucking good.
They're good.
It's really no different than eating like a hot dog. It's just that they treat the meat differently.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to him talk about that shit at the beginning, I was like, dude, we used to eat that shit. You used to feed us this shit.
Yeah.
But this is a boiled fucking head? Really?
But that taps into the bloodlust.
We all need to meet up and eat head cheese.
100%. We need some head cheese.
That kind of ties into the whole, like, where he's like, the sledgehammer is the way to do it. Like, that's the best way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think there's like a commentary on that to like, when everything becomes like sanitized through machinery, like you don't realize like what you're actually doing. Like you don't realize you're snuffing out a living being.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't appreciate like that sacrifice that's been made for you. And like the head cheese, that's like using everything.
Yes.
Like, there's no waste there. It's like, it goes back to that sort of point of view where it's like, now it's like, I have a line in a song, like, I respect the people that'll hunt and kill their own food way more than the yuppies shopping in Whole Foods. Because it's like that same sort of thing. Like, at least they're connected to it and they're not like pretending that it's not anything that it's not.
And do you know that sorry,
man. I was just going to say, if you put that with the link with the progress thing, like as we progress, we just have more waste. We just have, it's convenient to chuck away that last 2 slices of ham. It's going out of date. Chuck it out. Don't worry about it. Whereas back in the day, no, we don't waste everything gets used. Sorry, Thomas, what were you going to say?
And it's a
I was just going to say, like, I think Matt Comey actually like hunts his own cows, like,
of course he does,
and like literally like cuts the whole animal apart. Like he's telling me, like, so you reminded me of that. But I was just wondering, like, what's the equivalent? Do you think, Cam, of like, because these guys were talking about there's places in America you can't drive through. I was just thinking, what's the equivalent in the UK? And I was thinking, probably like Stoke-on-Trent.
The thing is, you guys do have inner city kind of, like, I suppose like there's desolated towns here, but if you're talking about countryside, if you go like places in Cornwall, you guys ever watched Wicker Man, right? So
of course, my favorite.
This is like, we talked about this on the last Texas chat. It is a very gothic folk element to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and in that way, it does tie to Wicker Man.
Interesting. You think it's a folk horror? Wow,
I think
I've
we
never
talked
heard that.
Yeah, we did talk about this before, where I was like, it's got this gothic kind of Americana, like Grateful Dead album cover vibe, but just completely the underbelly of it. Whereas here we have the underclasses living in the inner cities and little ex-industry towns. But if you're talking about just expansive space, it's like the Wicker Man, where you'll have beaches, like an odd castle, loads of wheat fields, and then just a little village which has got its own little traditions. I've done it before, where I've walked into a pub, like literally in the Peak District, so it's like desolate, and going in and one person going, you don't want to go in there. And I was like, all right, okay. And I kept walking, and it was literally like the Texas Chain Saw. You walked in, you thought, and they only served pork pies. I was like, do you have a sandwich or chips? No, just pork pies. And
everyone turns around when you walk in, like in American Werewolf in London. And
literally, mate. Everyone looked around. I was like, we just are in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre now, and I'm not buying the barbecue because I'm not Franklin. You know what I mean? That Franklin's
I think a really key scene as well is when you see the armadillo on the road.
Yeah,
you know
man.
I mean? Like,
foreshadowing. I've got it down for later. Yeah, definitely.
That's such a cool moment. And like, I think, because I got like the German 4K release, and the cover is like the armadillo on the road, which I think is really cool. Because I think as soon as you see that, you're just like, something's not right. And I think every animal in that movie is dead. You know, you don't really see any wildlife alive, which
Is
is
there a
interesting.
chicken? Is there a chicken in the cage that Leatherface has just got there?
It's a chicken.
Yeah,
When
he
she
just
first
likes to
falls in
keep
that
shit.
room.
Yeah,
That's
I love
true,
the
that's true.
dedication to that. I love the dedication. Like, he took time with that sofa.
Mm.
There's no way they've gone just put that together. They really took time to give it some that love and care in an even more twisted way. I had these other
one of the
moments. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, one of the cool things about that is like there's like the layers of it, right? And it's like on the outside you see like this house. It's a little bit dilapidated, but it's still like very like it's almost like the American Gothic painting. Like it's this idea of like this is America.
Yes.
And then you go in that room and it's like, wait, what the fuck is all these bones over here? Like what's going on there?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the monster that opens the door and pulls you in, and it's just like it gets darker and darker the more you dig into like and get into what America is.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Yeah, I like that.
Kind of crazy on that side. And then
on
like,
the veneer,
when you come out on the other
beautiful.
side, you're just a completely fucking shattered person laughing in the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah,
blood.
it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful, like, it just looks so beautiful. Like, as you're driving through, I bet, unless you can smell them cows. But I was looking at, I brought this up last time, but I just kept coming back to it now. It's that moment. So we have 5 moments, and I think there's subtleties in this film that you guys have all touched on, some great ones. There's one that I love about the oldest brother, Drayton Sawyer. I looked this up, so his name's Drayton. I did not know this, but it's 5 moment when he goes, I just can't take no pleasure in killing. And it's that line, because that's then at the moment at the dinner table, that acting isn't. He's got the Canibus feature award, I feel, Drayton has, because he's great anyway, but it's the range of emotions he shows at that dinner table where he just can't help himself but enjoy this macabre scene in front of him, and he's almost getting like giddy with bloodlust, which makes me think of our role in horror films where you're like, yeah, like when we do see something that really, like, come on, man, one of us here is the biggest Terrifier fan I think I'll ever meet. And that if you watch Terrifier, you just go up at the bloodlust, you're like, what else can you do now? Like, what else can you do now? I know it might be a bit of a reach, but I think that moral schizophrenia, I think they called it that, this moral kind of like, I'm going one way, but I'm actually the other way. And it's kind of like America in a weird way. Like you guys, not you guys on this call, but America, I feel, sees itself as, we don't kill people. We kill people that deserve to die. But it keeps on killing people. And by the end of it, it's so giddy with bloodlust. You're right. You are the person in the car on the way drenched in blood. Yeah.
But that's like a great villain though, right? A great villain believes what they're doing is right. Mm-hmm. And I think the people in this movie, like, and to a point, you could even understand it. Like everything about their way of life was destroyed and now they're in survival mode.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, to them, they're doing the right thing by surviving. And it's like, it dehumanizes the people that they're going against because they have to do that in order to survive.
Do you know what that makes me think?
Up.
Do you know what
and
makes
it's
me...
like,
sorry, Asker, but I was going to say, you know what that makes me think of? You know, when people are forced into a corner and they just have to survive. I was listening to a history podcast the other day and they were talking about the Spanish coming into like America and Mexico, and people who had never in their lives for thousands of years ever seen another kind of different person. And there was loads of reports written by sailors, and they're saying a lot of the locals after like a week or so are just sitting crouched on the sand of the beach, just dazed, looking ahead, because they literally can't believe what's happened. Like, they've been forced to survive, and a lot of them are just in a daze and they never survive. They won't survive. But the ones who do survive go to extraordinary means, like you've just said. Like, these guys are forced into a corner. This is what they have to do. Yeah.
I guess at the time as well, like we mentioned, the industry, American industry, mechanization was replacing it, but also like you had the Watergate scandal. It was almost like America was eating itself, and that's what this film kind of depicts. It's kind of like cannibalistic capitalism. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think you could really like make that argument that this film really is about America eating itself. And socio-politically, you know, in the 70s, you saw, you know, students getting murdered in protest. I mean, there was just so much like turmoil that was happening. And I think this film really captures that feeling, I think. Like, But I think what Myke says is so interesting about the veganism thing. Like I've heard that before, but I think it's so true. Like, I think I think now you said that, like it's making me feel like I need to like quit eating meat for a bit because it's just making me think of this movie.
Every time you watch it, you're like, maybe I should
Watch
stop.
part 2 and you're going to really want some chili.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
I think we've talked about this. Yeah, it's so true. Number 2, God, where it went. Other tropes that I feel like it did, maybe before anything else, the first final girl. I don't know. People out there, let me know or let us know if this is true or not. But I feel like Sally Hardesty might be, if not the first, one of the first that kind of set the trend. I suppose Black Christmas was 1974. That's got a final girl in, hasn't it, as well? Yeah. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, what other moments do I have here? We talked about the foreshadowing. I love those moments as well. Here's a little moment that I only clicked just now where I was like, oh yeah, in a weird way, Franklin and that hitchhiker really mirror themselves in a weird way. Like, he's the only one who wants to really know more about this guy. They're the only ones who blow raspberries, go to that point where the hitchhiker does it when they leave, and he gets really immature when he can hear them upstairs and no one's helping him, which is out of order a little bit. Like, the guy's in a fucking wheelchair. He might be a knob, but you've got to get him in there at least. No one just leave him, don't they? And I feel like the mirror of him being civilized and uncivilized is non-starker than them two, and they kind of reflect each other in really weird ways. And maybe it's just the weed I've been smoking, but I'm like, this is a really interesting relationship these two have. Even like when he cuts his own hand, everyone else is like disgusted, and Franklin's like, holy shit. He even talks about it later where he's like, do you think you could do that to yourself? Like, he's slightly admiring this hitchhiker, this crazy guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know if I'm just reaching there.
No, you're not. I don't think you're off, dude. I thought the same thing, because they're both, I don't want to call them both handicapped, but they kind of are. They're both at least extremely flawed. Like, you know, Franklin is handicapped physically, but there's clearly also some weird mental shit going on with him.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he looks about 42, but he behaves like he's 13, you know. And then the hitchhiker, who I don't know what the reason is they gave him the weird birthmark on his face, and then the way he's acting. Like you were saying, Cam, that the older brother gets the Canibus award. For me, it's easily the hitchhiker.
Really?
Because he nails. I have met so many fucking people that act like that. Like, he nails that weirdo fucking rednecky, I have a 3rd grade education, but I'm 38 type of dude. And the whole part in the back of the car is one of the creepiest things, because I'm like, I could see this. This seems really fucking real. Like, he's sitting in the back, he's talking about these things that he's passionate about, and Franklin is the only one that's really like super interested. The rest of them are kind of grossed out. Even when he's talking about the head cheese, the rest of them are like, oh, gross. But Franklin is, if you watch, he's like intently listening to this guy.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's almost like Franklin sees himself in this fucking weird hitchhiker.
It's so weird.
If they were both around today, they would be on an incel message board and best friends.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
They
They'd be juggalos.
Yeah.
They'd be SoundCloud rappers making these shittiest music.
Yes,
and Pitchfork would call it the 5th best album of the 2020s.
You can say what you want about all these film podcasts out there, but no one on this earth has ever likened Franklin the Hitchhiker to SoundCloud rappers. I think they've got to be the first who have ever put that up there. So there you go. That's the kind of shit you're getting. But no, do you know there's something about that though? That whole scene about him being in that in the car. I love that scene. The more and more I watch it, I've gone through the whole emotion from when I first watched it feeling dirty and sweaty, which you do in the whole film, to be fair. But now I'm like, I really fucking love this scene, because it's the only time you really see them all together. It's a very short film if you think about it, and that moment of you get a lot of chemistry in that one little. And you know, I don't even know if they've gone on to do other things, these actors, but the more and more I was watching it, the more and more I was really honing in on that kind of cosmic stuff they're talking about. You know, the cosmic kind of stuff. There's like an interference, something's going to happen. And I dismissed it on my first few watches of it just being a very 70s trippy hippie trope. It was like, yeah, these are the hippies, and I get it. Yeah, this is whatever. I get it. But now I actually look at it, and the film, the actual universe is working against you. You're having the worst day of your life. Like, this is just a day. It's all set in one day. And even the intro where you have that sun emitting like sonar flares, and you hear about things from there hitting Earth and making us feel a bit weird. You know what I mean? Or like just affecting us. And I think them solar flares, and then it descends all the way down to the actual earth where they're digging up the grave. And then, you know, where that guy is tied, like the first bones you see, it's just a litany of bad news on that radio. It's just everything is not right in this day today. Something really bad is going to happen to someone. And isn't that what Hooper said actually on the commentary? I remember he said today, what we wanted to base it is, this is just a really bad day for Earth. And you're like, oh right, okay, so this is where he was coming from. And yeah, no, and then you go to some really weird moments. Like I wouldn't talk about Grandpa with you, but this is one thing I had. Thomas, you need to smoke the weed I'm on, man, because I was going off on one. I was like, hold on, is Grandpa? So you know you have all them like ceremonial things everywhere. Like it's a bit like Blair Witch, isn't it? Like you see those, and they're taking some care to do that and whatever. And then you have the sign that he does with his blood on the car. You think, okay. And then you think, Grandpa should not be fucking alive at this point. Like, he is about 120 years old. He should be dead. But is he alive because of some cosmic pact shit this family have got going on? Because you got all the trinkets, you got all the rituals, all that stuff. And I was like, is that the motive of this family, maybe? That they do like to eat, but there is another...
Yeah.
Again, maybe I'm going too deep.
Do you know I was always interested, like, why they didn't do, like, a prequel? Like, because they obviously talk about how Grandpa in his day was, like, a real killer. He could, like, string them up, like, the best of them. I think they say something like that. I was always surprised they didn't show like who Grandpa was before. And like the other thing that I learned that was really surprising is that Leatherface is actually supposed to be a teenage boy in Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Like he's not meant to be a man, which is really interesting because it's like so they're actually kind of being killed primarily by like a teenager, which is really weird.
That changes the dynamic, doesn't it? Completely, I think, if I do that.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. But yeah, and I think another thing I learned, like just from doing research from this, was like how I think like a lot of the money was like the mafia had some kind of like tie into the movie. They were like trying to launder profits from like Deep Throat, and like the cast like sued the makers and got like more money because of it or something, which is like really random to find out. So I don't necessarily think this film was like meant to be a success. Like I think it kind of just the word of mouth. It's like the original word of mouth buzz, like you mentioned Blair Witch before. Do you know, it was like the original one of that. Do you know what I mean? Like filmed on such a low budget.
Well, if your title is this, it's got to be the best title ever. Like it says everything. The title's amazing. We talk about 5 Myke moments. That is a 5 Myker for me. Anyone else? 5 Myke moments. Alaska, Myke. Any moments where you think just perfect? I know there's a lot of them, but
well, before we go on to a 5 Myke moment, I want to touch on the what Thomas was saying about him being a teenager, because I read that same thing, and I don't know if it goes to the whole idea of, I don't even know if y'all being in the UK know this whole trope about Southerners kind of having this thing with incest and getting pregnant. Like one of y'all were saying that why is Grandpa still alive? He should be like 100 and something years old. Well, Grandpa probably had kids when he was 14. You know, at some point there was probably a woman around somewhere. I know that they kind of show her, she has like bacon face or whatever. I guess that's supposed to be Grandma, but I don't think she's alive. No. But that was always one of those really subtly implied things that there's probably a lot of like weird incest going on, and that's why all of these kids are so fucked up. You know, that's why you have a teenager who has the body of a grown fucking man, but he still has the mentality of a child, and he's wearing his mother. Now, the mother's face thing obviously is an Ed Gein callback, but all of that other stuff, it's just, it's just really interesting. But yeah, I think we mentioned last time we talked, guys, the 5 Myke moment. I don't think there's a bigger one than the popping in the head with the hammer and the door slamming.
Yeah.
No, do you know what my 5 Myke moment is? Is when you see her close up when she's sat at the dinner table and you see her eyes, like green eyes, and you can see almost like the reflection of them through her eyes. And I think her eyes just communicate so much fear. And I think that like she deserves so much like credit as an actress for that sequence. Genuinely it feels like
The screaming, bro.
It's going absolutely insane, you know.
She's
like,
just a scream. I think I timed it. She screams for over 20 minutes. I was like, that is a lot. Like, that is a lot, asking a lot from an audience as well. Like, to sit there 100%. And just be like, yeah, okay, we'll sit through this. Like, I find it amazing.
Tough 20 minutes to get through, though. Like, it's 20 minutes to get through in the whole.
It is. It's very tough, genre. Especially because it's relentless and remorseless. Like, when she's crying,
so hard as well.
Yeah, when she's crying, they're like, oh, like they're doing that, and you're like, holy fuck, these guys don't give a fuck. Like, they don't give a fuck. Like, even real life, right? They really cut her finger. They really hit her on the head because it was it Gunnar Hansen in his book said literally we were all mad at this point. By the 6th take, we all hated her because why are you not getting this right? Why is it not working? I'm just going to take the tape off the thing and just cut her.
Yeah.
And you think that is irresponsible. It's the worst thing you could do. But you got this out of it where you're like, it kind of makes you think, Jesus, does great art come out of just really extreme things sometimes, you know?
Marilyn Burns, that's it. Like, she's so good in it. And it's random because I saw her like in another thing. It's like a TV movie about the Manson murders. It was like Helter Skelter, and she like plays Linda Kasabian in it. You know, like the one that ended up like snitching on the Manson family. And I remember seeing her in that and just being like, "Well, that's her, that's Sally." Like, I was so fucking happy.
Yeah.
Like, my wife was like, "Why are you excited about this shit?"
Sally.
But, But I hated how they brought her back, and I know we obviously did the episode, but. I just thought that was sacrilege. Like, they should just never have done that because I think she never would have like returned. Like, she would have just like been traumatized forever.
Yeah. Like, exactly. Yeah. 5 Myke moments, Alaska. Did you have any?
I don't know if it's a 5 Myke. I mean, I think we've kind of said, but it's a moment like when she jumps out the window.
Yeah,
it's like when there's a great beat change in a song.
Yeah,
because it's just like. The release of like, yes, this is the best. Like, like when Biggie comes in at the end of All About the Benjamins and it's like that beat changes. It's like
finally,
it's like that's that moment to me.
That is a great nice. Yeah, that is a great little moment. I love that. I was going to talk about that. The Leatherface intro, like the intro to this. Like, this is the monster. 50 years, he's still going. Like, 50 years, my kid knows there's a guy called Leatherface. That's mad. And I think, like, way beyond Dracula, way beyond werewolf. Like, this is going to last now for me, I think. And the imagery of it is amazing.
That's a big call. I don't know if it will last beyond
for me. I did say for me.
Last a long time, man.
No. For me. I mean, like, for me, I think, like, as a potency, Dracula holds no weight with me now at all. I totally get it. In literature and in pop culture, 100%, they are like, archetypes. They've been around hundreds of years. But for me, I get it. Yeah, okay, maybe I've lived with it. But there's something more fascinating. And I think you talked about the acting is incredible. But I think that the moment he grabs her, when he grabs her, it's great acting from her as well. I don't know her name, but she was amazing. Her acting's amazing because all of her limbs are off the floor. Like, both her arms, and like, she's fully off the floor. And him, you can tell the heft of this guy that he can just pick him up. And the fact it's just broad daylight, man. Like, I remember in the cinema just being hammered. Like, I got very drunk before I ever watched this first time ever. I was only 15. I snuck out of school. We were on Red Bull and vodkas. We were so highly tuned up for this. And I remember just thinking, this is really bright. Like, it's a really bright moment. And that was just huge for me as a kid. I see everything in shadows at that point. And,
that's so true.
And the other bit and I love this little sort of moment, and you catch it from even the first time you see it, because visually there's a lot of visual flares, and he's doing a lot of crazy like the bit where the guy's pissed and he's upside down. Cool, I love the directing, but there's one moment where he cuts to the before Leatherface comes out, there's like these skulls and everything, and I think there's this kind of 3 zoom cut where he goes bang, 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 close up to it, and that bit always gets me as he's squealing. And he's doing that squeal. And what is that? Like, it's like when you first watch Black Christmas and he's on the phone and he's calling her a cunt, he's doing all this other stuff. And then at some points he's just doing noises. And Black Christmas gets me every time. I'm like, what is that noise? What is that? And it's the same thing with these squeals. And man, that under the swing shot, I know there's a lot of stories about how they made that, but that to me is just genius use of camera. To heighten, she could just walk from there to there, just with some music. no, we're going to go under the swing. And I know they probably want the butt shot or whatever, you know, for the 70s audience or whatever it is. But I think it works on a much deeper level, just like the ending. You talk about the ending's really uncomfortable, Alaska. I think it has... Okay, I'm trying to check myself. I think it does. I think it is one of the most perfect cut-to-black endings in cinema. Not horror, in cinema. Like, I never expect it. I've watched it dozens of times now. I never expect it to be as abrupt as it is. I always think there's going to be another swing of the chainsaw or something, and it just goes. It ends on a really amazing moment as she's laughing maniacally, and it just reminds me of, like, you know how is it Monty Python where they have the Holy Grail where they just end it really abruptly and it's real life and the cops come and you're like, what's happening? What is happening here? But yeah, no, that's my 5 mark moments. But yeah, I don't know if you guys had any others. We can go on some. We can go to some other moments I've got here for you if you need to. We good?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No worries. Let's go into these categories then. Sorry, I just lost my way here. Right, okay. We talked about the family as well. Obviously amazing. I was going to talk about we talked a lot about the franchise and where it's gone in our 2022. Did it come out? The 2022 version came out?
Yeah. Just going to let my cat in because my cat's on the window. So.
Oh, please do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but no, we, if you want any more of that, please do go back and listen to that because I don't think we've talked more about the franchise. I know Alaska went in on every film before that 2022.
I love this franchise. I love it.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
The one with Matthew McConaughey. That one's terrible, where like the CIA suddenly is involved with these guys. But yeah, it's terrible. Like there's no continuity. There's no and I kind of love that they're not stuck with like everything has to fit in canon.
Yeah,
it's just like it just lets it be, right? It's just kind of crazy. But there is one thing in that movie that's the newest one, and we may have discussed it. It's the photo. So Sally Hardesty has the photo that the hitchhiker took.
Yes.
It's like, how did she get that photo?
How? Yeah.
Yeah.
And did he burn it?
Yeah, he burnt it.
He burnt it. So again, you're just making me angry about 2022, mate. Now I'm not going to do this. This is a nice, safe place to enjoy Texas. Yeah. I don't want to get into that. I had 2 questions for you though. We talked about Terminators brushing teeth, didn't we, Alaska? Like they are actually real teeth. Do they have to brush those teeth? This is another moment where I was like, so he's wearing the makeup. I get it. It's the mum issues. I get the wig. I get him being subservient. Why is he wearing a suit? Why is Leatherface wearing a tie with a suit? And I just can't.
He's a kid, I assume, right? Because remember, like they always dressed little kids up like that, like little kids, like little weird suits. That's why I always assumed, like it was like a little church suit.
I assumed like he was like an independent woman. He was on his way to the office.
Because he's
running shoes on. He's making his way to the train. It was like,
God.
He's dressed up for dinner. He's dressed up for dinner.
He's dressed up for
that meal.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No worries. No, because I was like, why is
because it is a real big boy suit, like Myke is saying. Like the tie is like the big boy clip-on tie.
Yeah, it's like a little short tie.
But just looking at your image there, Alaska, of him in that suit, it's such a perfect. Like if he's in his apron, that ain't gonna hit as hard. You know what I mean? There's something about the suit hits hard. Do you know what I mean?
I think the suit is more iconic than the apron even because like I feel like in a lot of stuff like he's wearing the suit in like promotional shots. In the sequel movies, he's always in the suit way more than he is in the apron.
Yeah, no.
But, like the real sequels, like the original.
Isn't there one which is just called Leatherface and the actual chainsaw has written on it Leatherface? And I thought that's when they went too far where I was like, this is amazing that he's naming his own chainsaws. I've got a bit of trivia here.
The greatest thing of all the sequels is the cover for part 2. I think is a takeoff on the cover of The Breakfast Club.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
Like to me, that's just the best.
But John he went full comedy, didn't he? He went full comedy, and that's exactly where he led into.
Which is like, I mean, what are you going to do after that? Like we've seen the sort of like derivative bullshit sequels that try to capture like that energy.
It's true.
Go full comedy.
Yeah.
Do you know one thing I've just thought of that like we did discuss is like throughout the film you hear those little like radio bulletin reports and they talk about the murders going on across the region. Like there is like all this backstory and lore that's like kind of hidden in the fabric of the movie. And when you've watched it as many times as we have, you notice those things, you know? And I do think I love all that. I love if you listen, you really actually like this isn't the first time they've murdered people, you know, they've been doing this for a long time. And then you start to think,
What's the pisshead say, Thomas, where he says he's upside down? I've seen things. I've seen things. Where you're like, holy shit, you're right. They've been doing this in front of everyone. And this guy's
clearly accent. It's good, Cam.
I'm sorry, that is not good. That's just tired. And I forgot I'm with a southern, but you actually know what they sound like. I used to talk to people who have no idea. Sorry.
That was like every redneck in a Hollywood movie ever.
I'm so sorry. I apologise. But go on, Thomas, as you were saying. Sorry, mate, go on.
No, what? Sorry, what? I've gone blank.
You were saying like how these murders and the radio and things are going. There's a fabric to it.
And just this idea, it just gives this idea they've been getting away with this for a long time, and like actually, like all the community are complicit. You know, they know this is going on. You know, I sense it's not the first time they've lured out of towners like into the family. Do you know what I mean? Like everything seems to suggest that, and I think that in itself, like that's one of the scariest things about this movie. Maybe it's not even Leatherface or the family, it's like all the locals that are complicit. Let it happen.
This is the folk horror thing. There's a complicity, and it's not one, it's everyone's in on it, and that's the Wicker Man for me. That's, you know, those kind of things where, oh no, everyone's in on this, aren't they? And yeah, I love that. And you know what's also really creepy, you know, when she turns up to the, because that's another thing, isn't it? It's progress. We talk about progress and evolution. These characters are from here. They're not outsiders. They're not, you know, from the coastal elites. Their family are from here. So when she first turns up, she's like, I need to go to the graveyard to check if my family have been dug up, which is a crazy sentence to say if you're on your way to, I don't know where they are. Where are they on the way to? A concert? No. What are they on the way to? I don't even know where they're going.
They never really say, do they?
I thought they said they were on the way to, I thought they were going to a concert. I don't.
It's something, isn't it? I'm not sure.
That's what they said.
But the fact she has to stop on her way to check the graveyard. When she turns up, you get the drunk guy who's amazing. I love him. But it is also the one guy who's like, oh, this little girl, I'm not going to do the accent. Oh no, this little lady wants to know where her family is. Wake. And he's the creepy cowboy old guy where you're like, oh, he's got his hands all over and he's like, no, come, let me show you. No, this girl needs to know. That as well. There's this weird thing where just be on your guard constantly. Maybe I don't know. That's what I thought. But yeah.
So the fact that they're going to a concert,
yes,
makes me think of a weird sort of universe where Dazed and Confused could be the prequel to this movie. Like they were going to get Aerosmith tickets.
They were going to get Aerosmith tickets
on their way to the Aerosmith concert.
LIVIN. Not anymore, my friend. Not anymore. LIVIN. No way. It's not happening for you, my friend.
I do like how you related this to Wicker Man and the whole idea of it being folk horror. Because, I mean, just like in the Wicker Man, there are certain rules that you're supposed to follow, and then the outsider shows up, and then boom, you don't really know the rules, and you have now become part of the entire experience. It's the exact same thing with this film. It's like there are rules to these weird southern towns. Like you don't fucking go into a place like in like a really, really, really southern spot in the United States. You don't go in there and start looking people in the eyes and like, or stare at anyone or do anything like that, because that is an immediate sign of you're about to get fucked up.
Yeah.
So but I do really like that idea of this being a folk horror. That's interesting.
It's really interesting. I've never thought of that.
Sorry, go for it. Yeah.
No, I've never thought of that before. I think it's such an interesting point. Yeah.
I was just going to say that element as well, where you think where the Harbinger of Doom guy, that's another trope solidified by Texas, where he says it again. You're in a place, you don't know anything about it, and I'm telling you, don't go to that house. I'm telling you, don't do it. And you're still doing it. And it just reminds me of Cabin in the Woods, because they had the best Harbinger ever, where they put him on loudspeaker and they're like, I'm still on loudspeaker, aren't I? And that bit, I love Cabin in the Woods because it really, really evolves.
Do you know, I also think this is the first ever horror movie where the main weapon that the killer uses is a piece of machinery.
I had that down as trivia.
Just thinking about it, like I can't think of any other, because usually it's like a knife or like.
Well, it's been recorded as this is the trivia section. Great thinking, Thomas. First horror to use machinery as a weapon. Oh, wow. Apparently, this is just crazy. Something it's internet research. It might not be right, but I could not think of something that had used it. I was thinking of Peeping Tom. That might have been a bit earlier, maybe, but that wasn't really machinery. That was a camera, I suppose.
Or Driller Killer. Wasn't that before this?
Say again.
Thriller Killer before this?
I think that was after.
Thriller Killer's after. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
okay.
this set. So it's 74. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is after. But yeah, people, if I'm wrong, there you go. Just to give you, can you, unless you know it, how much did the cast and crew have in money to split between them at the end of this shoot? And when the films come out, how much do you reckon they all had? All the cast, all the crew, they had this many dollars. What are we going with?
It couldn't have been more than $100, probably.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh my god, I can
Probably
tell
like
you.
I
$1,000.
was going to say like 2,000.
Well, they actually did better than you think. Eight. So the cast and crew got 8K split between them. I think 5 years later, the crew and cast got additional 25K each after filing a lawsuit. Still not enough, but you're right. It's the mafia thing. Maybe it's all that. You're never going to see them profits again. As I said, the narrator, John Larroquette, he has done something else, hasn't he? Sure
8,074 is the equivalent of 43,000 today.
Oh, behave. You're fine. I do that last
that
scene.
makes sense.
I do a 27-hour shoot for that.
But they didn't each get 8,000. They split it, right?
They split it. 8,000.
Okay,
they split it, between them. I'm not sure how many there were. The narrator paid one joint for his work, which I thought was great.
Is this the same John Larroquette from?
It is, yeah. I was going to say, do you guys know who John Larroquette is?
He has done something else. That's what I was just thinking.
Sitcom star out here.
Yeah.
But he's done something. Yeah, I can't remember. There's something big over here. I'm sure I know him for.
Night Court was the show out here.
Yeah, he was like the lawyer in Night Court, or one of them.
Yeah, and his son is one of the hosts of Yeah Dude. The podcast Yeah Dude.
Oh, right. There you go. Look at that. The Texas thing running deep. Because he must have been doing work here. Must have been putting some work in for them. Because he's got a great voice. I was like, Jesus.
I went to see Yeah Dude live like last fall, and I saw John Larroquette, the narrator.
No
yeah.
You got to
He's a
talk about
very
Texas.
big person.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, he was like 6'6", like 250 pounds. I was like, wow, okay, you're big. You're like Leatherface big.
Bigger than Leatherface, maybe even. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. 27 hours, that final dinner scene. 27 hour shoot with actual animal bones being cooked, and one costume for Leatherface.
And there's real blood as well, right? Animal blood.
I think they may have had real blood in there. I would not put it past them. Yeah, I would not put it past them.
I'm pretty convinced.
Do you know what? I was talking about they cut a finger. I've got it written down here. It was just the fourth take. This is how insane they were. It was just the fourth take. At that point, they were like, no more. We can't do more than 4 at this point. Here you go. Thomas, this is your area. 2023, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre video game. I never played it. Any good?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's really good. It's by the same studio that did the Friday the 13th game. It's really good fun. I really enjoyed it. It's good to just be able to play as Leatherface as well. You know.
Yeah, you can play as the Sawyer family, right? Like any other.
Any one of them. That's pretty.
They changed their name though. I can't remember what it was to.
Hewitts.
But the Hewitts.
Yeah, that's what they came in the later movies.
But they're saw you. That's the whole point, isn't it? There's the play on words. They're sawing you up. Oh, well, okay. The Hewitts just hasn't got it for me. I'm sorry. I don't. You guys might follow Mondo. They do really cool like posters, and they've got really cool art and stuff. I have a book up there, and I can never. If my lad's around, there's just no way I can take it because the cover is that her eye, and it's like you said, one of the most striking visuals. And again, you remember Toby Hooper was like he was really going into like avant-garde shit sometimes with some of these shot selection, and it's just her eye with Leatherface running at her with his wig on and his makeup, which again is a great choice. So yeah, big up Mondo for that art. Categories then, let's get into some of these categories. I had a what if here before we go into the hip-hop horror categories. So it's Texas Chain Saw Massacre. If you had to set this film in a different location, clearly it won't be as good. What would you go for? Would it be more of a urban, like urban Chainsaw Massacre, or maybe a different country, like you're going global? I don't know. Did you have any thoughts? I have a few thought starters. I had LA or New York, and then I had Tokyo Chainsaw Massacre.
They've done it in New York, Cam. It would just be Judgment Night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh shit, yeah.
I'm thinking like the Dakotas, like somewhere where it's like cold, like really cold, and you might have snow, so it gets like that sort of contrast of the blood on the snow.
No, I like that. Yeah,
and it's also like it's a similar rural environment where it's like nothingness. Like when you drive across country, you're up there, like it's more rural there than it is down Sal. Like you could drive a whole state and see like 3 houses.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. Like I mean,
Holy
and
shit.
for like the scope of the size, like it would be like driving through France.
I like the idea of being in the snow. Like, definitely, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the extreme heat to the extreme cold. I like that.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Yeah, I like
Mm-hmm.
that. Tokyo, though, I think there could be something there. City, completely different culture.
Yeah.
Just imagine a chainsaw. I mean, let's not. I don't know if the history of Tokyo, that may already have happened. Yeah, I apologise if it has, but you don't know. But yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. I thought there's a what if there if you want it. Thomas, any others for you? Kent?
I'm just going to be really boring and just say that I just think the location's so perfect. I can't imagine it in any other location.
No, you are right. You're right. Okay, then, here we go. If this film was a hip hop album, what would it be? I can start us off unless someone's got one ready.
Go for it.
I have one. I was just thinking, because it kind of is the title that sells it the most, but Hell on Earth. Like, hell, it literally is hell on earth for some of these people. It's a very horror, gritty, like there's a haunting quality to Hell on Earth in a real kind of nihilistic way, I think. A lot of paranoia, a lot of violence as well. You got that as well going on there. Impending doom, I suppose, in some of these tracks. I'm not sure. Maybe but then again, it has a cold industrial feel as well at some points, which kind of maybe matches up with some of the industrial rawness of Leatherface or this family. Again, this is what we're doing, tenuously linking great albums to this film. Anything from you guys?
I didn't have anything until you said the kind of industrial and weirdness and all that. And this is probably super cliche and hipster, but I would think like to a degree like a Death Grips album, only because they're like, I don't know if anybody else here has been to a Death Grips show. I went like when they were a very small venue in Atlanta. And I remember when he was coming out, I just had this idea, like, this guy's not to be fucked with. He's not one of those guys you pat on the back or give high fives. So I just stepped back and let him walk to the stage. Some fucking kid, while he was performing, the kid like got in his face and was singing the lyrics. Right. The kid was probably fucking 14 and Rye duffed him so hard. And and I was like, dude, in my brain, I was like, there's fucking rules. Like, how do you not know? You like he talks about being paranoid throughout the album. Why the fuck would you get in his face and start yelling? But like, this is kind of like the same thing with like Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Like, there are rules to follow. And if you don't follow them, you get fucked up. Franklin told you fuckers to leave. Y'all didn't listen. Y'all got 8. That's just the way it works.
I've still got a bruise from like when I saw Death Grips. I swear, like it was like crazy. I would say like probably
that's great.
Like an album by Necro or like some like maybe Gory Days. Gory Days. Gory Days.
Do you know what? I've realised there's a theme coming along with these now. And Necro's getting a mention at every time. I think he might need his own category at some point where it is just which Necro song or like which Necro cameo, what scene does Necro go in, something like that. We'll flesh it out, we'll workshop it. But that is, he seems to be getting a lot, clearly what I can see why as well.
Kill Bill or Necro feel like the most like they're like Leatherface quite, or like Bushwick Bill from Ghetto Boys. They're those type
Bushwick,
those types of people.
I feel you. Alaska, anyone?
I'm going with Rubber Room's Architechnology.
Rubber.
Mostly just the cover looks like a sinister like weapon, and it's sort of like it's a very dark album to me.
Okay, what year is this?
I don't know. It's the one that came to mind immediately when I thought of it.
Really? What year is this album? I don't know this album.
Rubber Room Architechnology came out in I don't know when it came out actually, but it was like it came out like around the same time as CoFlow. It's an indie group from Chicago. It's actually A&R'd by Big Just, I think.
Oh yes, cool. Oh yes.
All right.
Okay.
Do you know what's interesting? You kind of remind me.
You don't know that record?
No,
I've just seen the album cover.
Yeah, I thought that would be right up your alley, Myke.
I don't think I know it. I'm gonna know it after this call, though.
There we go.
I'll put the Bandcamp. I mean, it's probably on Spotify too, but it's like a Midwest underground classic from the mid '90s.
Okay.
Do you know what, Cam? Eminem deserves a lot of credit for bringing new generation to this movie because when he had that chainsaw. like
Oh,
on that
yeah.
tour, the Marshall
That's
Mathers
true.
LP tour. I definitely remember like loads of kids at school being like, I saw the Texas Chain Saw Massacre last night because of Eminem. And, like, I definitely remember that was like a
Yeah.
thing. So like, yeah.
Well, he had
so,
that whole horror vibe for a second. The mask, the
Yeah.
chainsaw. He
Yeah.
was
But
the
going that
chainsaw
way.
was so big because he performed at the Brits, didn't he, with the chainsaw?
Oh, yeah.
I remember, like,
Yeah.
and that was like a big moment in the UK. Like, fuck,
Yeah.
he's got a chainsaw.
I think
Like,
he did
definitely
a
think-
magazine cover. Did he do a magazine cover? I thought he did a magazine cover for it as well. But no. So there you go. I mean, it's all there for you. The chainsaw never had a bigger moment than Texas. Like the apex for chainsaws. Well, maybe the apex came later, but it definitely started with Texas. Most hip hop moment of the film. You know what I'm thinking? I'm going with those sounds evoking Muggs and fucking that Muggs resides in that sound for me. Anything from you guys? Most hip hop moment of the film?
Final scene, like we said earlier, final scene where he's like got the chainsaw and he's going rap, but that for sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's
That
also,
or like,
Go on.
go ahead, Cam.
no, it's also very hip hop. Like you said earlier, it's the way he hits that, like the aggression, the metallic, like and the just dominance. I am dominating you completely, and that statement of just the bang of the door is probably a very hip hop moment in a way. Like it's sudden, it's violent, it's completely dominating. It has a lot of hip hop qualities in a way. Again, maybe a reach.
It would
but
make
I'm
a
not-
great
I'm like,
snare sample in a beat, like just
Yeah,
You know?
yes, that's what I'm here. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, Mike, you were saying.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the most hip hop moment might be Franklin beatboxing when he comes in the house when they're all
That's
upstairs. So every time I watch it, I'm just like, what the fuck is he doing, man?
Do you know what? You know, you said it was unbearable the last 20 minutes. I think it's more unbearable soon as I get to that house because Franklin's now on his own, and I've got to put up with this. Then you've got them subliminal, creepy ass things you're doing with them spiders in the corner. Just the sound, it get every time there's something you're tapping primordial into my brain. Where, yes, and I'm like, there's something like humans just don't like that, you know. You are tapping into it as well as his voice, you know. So yeah, all of that is.
You could do a whole episode on just the audio of this film. I think, like the sound effects.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. Any other hip hop moments, Thomas or Alaska?
I would say the dinner scene, it reminds me of like a lot of like 90s rap videos where it's like the whole crew's around the table.
And they're all getting really in the face of the lens. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe when Grandpa kind of like licks the finger, the blood, that's like the horror equivalent of Nelly putting the credit card down a woman's house crack.
Tip drill.
This could just be a Bubba Sparks video.
This could just be a Bubba Sparks video. Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually going to go into one of my later things, the Canibus Feature Award I had. That one of my 5 Myke moments, and just a little moment that delivers more than it ever really needs to, is his little jig. His grandpa's little dance in his so once he starts really I'm not getting anything, and then you know it hits when that scissors hitting him and he's like nah, and he has a little jig. That moment always I'm like, what is it's clearly just like a 20-year-old in a really bad mask, but it's also like just to think there's a 120-year-old man who's dancing at this moment. But yeah, no, very good. What other moments have we got here? Best needle drops. We don't really. Well, do you know what needle drop I was going to send to you? Because no one talks about this in any Texas chat I've heard. But whoever selected, and I don't even want to know what the song is because I never want to hear it again. But the old timey hillbilly song on the radio and the hitchhiker's talking, it completely adds to the unhinged nature of him and that whole moment. And it's like there's moments of silence when no one's talking. You just hear that song, that didactic sound from the radio. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. In a way, it works as the best needle drop because it gets me there. It gets me there just from that song. But I don't know if anyone knows what that song is or anything. I have no idea. But yeah, there's mine. Needle
I can't
drop.
remember what song it was, but I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like I can almost hear it in my mind now, like that. Ding, 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 ding. Like, no, it's just weird. No, don't do
It's
that.
like a band. It's like a banjo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as iconic as like Deliverance's banjos. Do you know what I mean? But it's just in the background, and maybe that's what it is. But did you guys have any others? There isn't really any other.
There isn't any. Yeah.
No, there isn't any. One rap song or rap cameo. Amazingly, we're all going to. I've said Leatherface. Mike was saying Leatherface at some point. I think you had Leatherface down as well. Did anybody have anything different for a rap song or rap cameo?
What does that mean? Was there a rapper we would like to cameo in the movie? Or
Yeah, get a rapper in. I have got cameo thing in a minute, but yeah, let's leave that cameo big. Actually, no, let's just do rap song. What rap song would you want in here? I've got what? Just put it out there. I've said Hell on Earth. Shook One Spot too. They're literally shook. They are. I know I'm going more with the title here, but it is paranoia, fear, fucking survival music. It is survival music. You think about it. Shook Ones is kind of like that. Yeah. Very aggressive energy.
I think it has to be something completely unhinged that just sounds like death. And I think, and it has, it kind of has. There's a song Floor 555 by Triple X Tentacion. If you hear that, it just sounds like the most evil song. I mean, it's created by someone who's pretty fucked up, but that song is like, that is the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, I promise. Listen to that track and you'll be like, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else
go? I Did It To You by Big Lurch.
Nice. Okay.
It's a great show.
Probably shouldn't talk about, but I mean, fuck, he ate people too. So I mean,
there we go. I like that we both mentioned such problematic artists. Because it's a problematic movie. So
if I say it's Texas, it's not like there's problematic things all in the film as well. Don't worry about it.
He literally says, "If you wake up in a puddle of blood, nigga, I did it to you." That's fucking Leatherface rapping that shit, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely, yeah. Anything from you, Alaska?
Yeah, I'm going with Gangster Nip's horror movie rap.
Nice.
I knew Nip would turn up.
Nice. This is all stuff I feel like you could see in the house, where he's got the line like, "I woke up with a dead dog on me," so I thought, baloney. He has another one where he's like, "I married a dead horse. A pig's head makes a good Christmas tree."
Amazing.
It's just like shit you could see in that house.
Absolutely.
Nip also deserves his category because it's a horror. You got to go there, haven't you? Absolutely, yeah. I was looking around for Texas Chain Saw Massacre labeled songs, if anything has called itself after this, and the only thing I found was Daddy Fat Snaps did a Texas Chain Saw Massacre Leatherface rap online on YouTube. There's a whole song where he's rapping like Leatherface. If anybody is intrigued, please go check that out.
I am.
Yeah. So and like we said, Big Pun as well, Leatherface, obviously.
He's rapping as Leatherface?
I think so, yeah. I think he's just called Leatherface as well, yeah. So he's doing it as Leatherface, yeah. So it's something.
I just want to hear what Leatherface's voice sounds like.
Also, no, it is his own. He's not doing any squealing. He's not doing any of that. It is just his inner thoughts, maybe. Maybe that's the way to put it. I await that on your next album, Alaska, somewhere as a bonus. Yeah, Leatherface. Let's get the back. Actually, do you know what that category was the best rap song to lay a Leatherface montage down to? I'm going to stick with what I had, but that's the way to look at it. Here's one. And we already know Alaska, so we get that first. Worst rapper to be stuck in Leatherface's house with. So you're tied up, all the family's there, the Sawyers are there, and you've got one rapper next to you. Right, could be anyone. I know what Alaska's is. Alaska, please let us know what it is. You get it every year, every time around.
Kanye West. Always Kanye West.
Always Kanye. Again, I think he deserves his own category. Like, if you're with Kanye, which scene would you rather be in? We'll workshop it again. But that would be a nightmare. Imagine his ego in that room where you're like, it's not going to work here, dog. Like, none of these are sway. Like, none of these are going to, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to eat you in a minute.
He's going to side with the Sawyers and explain why they're not bad people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. He flips on you. He's like, the best thing to eat on this guy is actually the cough, because he really works those out.
Talk about bleached assholes being a delicacy.
Right.
Oh, I did not think we'd be talking about bleached assholes on this podcast, but there we go. We are here. To be fair, Kanye is the worst. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, who do I want in this situation? I want a proactive, someone who's going to get up and go and help me get out of here. And the more and more I look at Little Yachty, when I hear him talk, when I see interviews, I'm like, this guy is doing fuck all helping. He's just going to sit there high as fuck, not even know what's going on around him. But I'll be like, yeah, he probably the worst to be around. Too laid back, way too carefree. And that's not what I need right now. Thomas, Mike, anything?
just anybody that's loud, you know. I just don't want Leatherface to hear me. So like, if it's like someone with really loud ad libs, you know, like I just think, nah, like Young Jeezy or someone like really booming ad libs, or like Lil Jon, or just nah. Anyone with loud ad libs is not allowed. So,
Can you imagine Little John there with his cup, his pink cup? That'd be hilarious. Myke, anyone?
That I'd want to be with me?
Mm-hmm. No, the worst.
Oh, T.I. I feel like T.I. would just like talk a bunch and use a whole bunch of really big words before actually doing any, you know? Like,
hold on, doesn't T.I. have shitloads of guns?
Bro, let's just go, man.
Doesn't T.I. have shitloads of guns?
But he always keeps his guns like in the boot of his car. So
right. I wonder if he'd have like a prostitute's like gun at the small of his back or something that he could get out and help me out. Yeah, great word. Yeah, no, T.I. Do you know what? I didn't see that coming, and I'm glad he caught a stray in a weird way, because we need more random rappers. Just T.I. actually, he wouldn't be great. No, you're right. He probably wouldn't be great.
I do love T.I. in general, though.
Oh no, just saying. If the Sawyer family are there. If the Sawyer family are there, he gets it. How about the flip side to this then? And I'll kick us off, because I used this last time. And I think it might just be I use every time. The best rapper to be stuck in Leatherface's house with. And I always can't look past DMX. I just think this man has seen so much already. He's survived so much already. He's a motivational presence.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. And I think in an Alien, it was I needed someone who could pray. And it's quite nice that he has that element of like, maybe now I start believing in God because I am about to be eaten. That might be the position where I need someone to just give me that spiritual awareness. But obviously, it feels like he's very fearless. So totally fearless. And I actually think that he might flip the script a little bit on them. If he starts just going for it, it might even intimidate them a little bit. I don't know, they're so unhinged, but maybe. I think if anyone's going to do it, DMX might do it, because he has his own demons and he battles them. Who knows? So
I know my answer. It would definitely be 2008, 2009 Gucci Man, like when he had the pot belly. He's on fire at that point, and he was just like so fucking dangerous. Like, I just feel like he would definitely take Leatherface out. Like, he would manage it somehow. So
is this the same era where it's Bitch I Might Be?
Bitch I Might Be. Yep.
Is that same era?
Yeah.
Bitch I Might Be. Yeah.
Like
Bitch I Might Be. Gucci
like Spring Breakers era Gucci Man as well. You know, just Gucci Man when he had the pot belly, he was unstoppable.
Yes.
So,
okay.
I want Gucci in my corner.
Okay. How about you, Alaska?
I'm going Nate Dogg because of his military experience. He was a Marine, and he was like part of like this thing called the Material Readiness Battalion, which was like apparently like this grueling process to become part of it. So,
I never knew this.
Nate Dogg would get weed withdrawals. So, like, I don't know.
There's also a video that came out the other day about like, I guess, him being ready to beat the shit out of all of Death Row and people being scared of him.
Really?
Yeah, like Snoop was talking about it. Like, you know, Pac was like, I'll get the outlaws to come after you guys.
That's a good point.
They told Suge Knight. Bring them.
I want Suge
Knight.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. I had best kill down here. We've talked about it, but just for me, this is what I'd written down on my last viewing last week. The Meat Hook, right?
Yep.
It's genius filmmaking. We know this. Even on the first watch, it's one of the ones you get on the first watch kind of thing. But I did think to myself, it's so mad that something could subconsciously make me feel how that violence would happen to my own body. Like, it's such a weird way they've edited it, and the way she just lays on it straight away, I can feel it. It's a weird thing. It's like, oh God, I can actually feel that going into my own back and how it would feel for me. So just on best kill, I had that. I know the other ones are really good as well. Franklin's brilliant.
Franklin, just because I was so happy he was finally dead. Like,
I'm right there with you, my man. I'm right there with you. Anyone else?
That scene is terrifying when he comes out through like the shadows of the night, like just with the chainsaw.
Do you know what else? It's mid-sentence. They're talking, and that's another thing. No signposting, no nothing. And I know that films have done it loads of times afterwards, but at that moment, they're in the middle of a conversation. I'm listening to the conversation, and then when he jumps out, it's even more. What the fuck? Yeah. Best kill, Myke, for you?
I was going to go with the Meat Hook too. I agree with Franklin's, but that was the only time where I kind of wish we saw the violence. I would have see the fucking chainsaw going through his stomach. Because I was like, you guys kind of deserve to die right now, because how come none of y'all heard this chainsaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't just hit a button and things just start. Like,
Yeah.
True.
Back then, it was like gas outrage. You gotta pull
To be
the crank
fair,
and everything.
yeah.
That is true. That is true. And the way he's running with it, I'm not sure if it's that easy to just wield a chainsaw on the run as you're on the hoof. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's got to be, you can't, surely you need to get a good stand, you need to go in. But the way he's swinging at the end, who fucking knows? That swinging at the end, that is just 5 Mike moment amazingness. So I'm not even taking anything away from it. Here we go then. Let's just go off the hip hop for a minute. 1974 Oscar cast swap. So we go to the 1974 Oscars. We're going to look at who won, and one of these people has to be recast as one of these, right? Pick any one of these. So best actor, we have Jack Lemmon, Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, and Robert Redford. So 5 big hitters there for you. Actresses, you have Glenda Jackson, Marsha Mason, Barbara Streisand, Joanne Woodward. I don't know much about Joanne Woodward. So yeah, I don't actually. Ellen Bernstein from The Exorcist. That might be the one actually. Oh no, not sure. I'm not sure which one I'm going for there actually. Al Pacino. No, Jack Nicholson maybe as the oldest brother.
I was gonna go Al Pacino as the oldest brother, just because. I mean, I think it would be a completely different level of terrifying.
Yeah,
Brando with as Leatherface, maybe. You know,
I was thinking that as well. Brando's Leatherface, like he's got the size. Imagine what he'd do. His method.
And
on
that was like when he was in Last Tango in Paris too, right? So he'd use the bar just before he uses the chainsaw.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does Barbara Streisand fit in this film?
She needs to get decapitated.
There we go. Getting decapitated.
Yeah.
I'll wait for Alaska for his in a bit, but I'm enjoying those ones, guys. Here we go. Last one then. Why have we got this? We must have written this down on one of the last ones. Where does Company Flow fit into this horror film? I think Company Flow kept getting answered as Company Flow all the time. I did write this down, and I thought this again, massive reaches here. Anti-commercial and underground. I was thinking this is a very underground film. This isn't
independent as fuck, Cam. I mean, that's
independent as fuck. Yeah. There you go. So I think that's where Company Flow is really fitting in, right? You have the industrial sound, and we talked about the industrialness of Texas, but I do think the real thing is it's independent as fuck. That's the thing, right?
I hear rugged like Rwanda the second he jumps out of the shadows and fucking stabs Franklin in the stomach with rugged like Rwanda would fit into that part so fucking perfectly.
I've enjoyed that. Alaska's joined it a good time.
It's like, yeah, that's literally what y'all did. Wandered far and you got like, come on,
you got chopped up. Alaska, where does Company Flow fit into this horror film? Did you have it?
Wow. I don't know if I could top what Mike
I don't know if we could top what Mike's just done, to be fair. Mike's killed it.
Yeah, I guess maybe the camera flash charging up sounds a little bit like the Info Kill original. Like maybe there.
This is why I love having you guys on.
You spoke about it being in daylight earlier, right? Like how it's in the light and like population control and Big Jews is like on the daylight goblin. That's it. That's all I can think of.
No, tenuous links I'm here for. Better links than that. You guys have absolutely smashed it. Fair play to you. Alaska, you missed one category before we go. It was the 1974 Oscar cast swap. And we had one of these people that could be recast. And you got Jack Lemmon, Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Robert Redford. And then the actresses, Glenda Jackson, Ellen Bernstein, Barbara Streisand, Joanne Woodward. Which one? Who you put? I'll let you know. We had shouts for Marlon Brando as Leatherface, Al Pacino as the oldest brother, and I went for Jack Nicholson as the oldest brother. Maybe who would you put? And where?
I was thinking Al Pacino as the oldest brother as well. That's a really
interesting. We're all going there. Someone has to play the hitchhiker. Got to be Jack Nicholson, hasn't it? Jack Lemmon.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Jack Nicholson is the hitchhiker. Yeah, Look at this. Right, I think we finally got there, guys. We did it. Canibus Feature Award. Oh no, we haven't done it. It's my favourite category. You have to replace one character or actor, one of the two, with Cool Keith. So Cool Keith has to be in this film somewhere, and I have him down.
The drunk guy at the beginning. Him.
Oh, nice.
I was going to say the hitchhiker.
I had down the oldest brother. Like, he would kill that role. You know, the range of emotion, and he would just be so alien to it all. But what
Cool Keith's the weirdest interview I ever did. Like, he spoke for 75 minutes about all the different cheeses that he'd eaten. And honestly, it's just like, I wish, but like, honestly, man. And he spoke about this nudist beach that he visited in France, and he was telling me about this woman who had pubic hair that was so long that it touched her toes and all this crazy shit. Like, I've got it on tape. Yeah.
This is Cool Keith, people. Okay, he's getting all the brothers. I like it. Cool Keith's Leatherface doesn't really work as much, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and there were 4 people in the background on a bed asleep while he was speaking to me on Zoom. Just asleep on a bed. It was the weirdest interview I've ever done.
I'm sorry. There's not enough these kind of people nowadays. I'm sorry. But how about this? Canibus Feature Award then. A feature performance. Hey?
I do my Cool Keith.
Oh, shit, you didn't do one. No, of course you can. Yeah. Of course you can. Sorry, I thought you did it.
I'm going with the truck driver that like hops out and it's like, wait, what the fuck? Kind of like wants to go back in.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I've enjoyed that.
It's like that's cool. Literal cameo. Like, boom, I'm in, I'm out.
Yeah. I'm out. Yeah. Absolutely. He hasn't got the heft, so he'd get away quicker. But I do feel he'd have to have a line. You can't not let him have a line. You got to give him something. You know, let him just improv it even. It'd be amazing. Something about cheese. But yeah, no, amazing. I've enjoyed that. So Canibus Feature Award, a feature performance that almost steals the film, if not steals the film. I have the guy... we talk about this guy knew it is the upside down drunk. He knew. He sees the world upside down. That guy does, not just him being upside down. He just sees it that way. I think where he says, I wrote it down here. Things happened here that people don't talk about. I see things. It's like, come on, you were right, Mike. They or Thomas, whoever made that point, they have been doing this for a while. So there's my Canibus feature. Alaska, do you have one?
The chicken in the cage.
It's a short. It does a lot.
Sure, but it's impactful. It'll let you know what's happening.
It does a lot with a little. It does a lot with a little. You're right. Okay.
And can you imagine if it had a bigger part? You'd be like, this really isn't good.
What? You see the chicken again later. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing
suddenly
here?
It's with Wyclef. You're like, what the fuck is Wyclef doing?
So what are we doing here? Oh, this is so good. The chicken fell off. Thomas, Mike, anyone? Anywhere?
No, I'm going to say the chicken too. Yeah,
the chicken is good, isn't it? Yeah, the chicken is a good one.
Yeah, if you don't go chicken, it's either chicken or the bacon faced grandma. Like, I want to know what's going on with her fucking.
Yeah. Oh, you just said the hitchhiker does. He does do a good work, actually. The hitchhiker does do good.
Armadillo.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one. Actually.
Yeah. What about the guy who
sets
does
it
the
off so well? Like
it does. It does.
Yeah.
What about the guy with the windows? Yeah, the guy who's cleaning the windows. He's a bit simple looking. There's not much going on with him, but I feel like there might be something you tap into there. But I'm not saying he's got the Canibus feature, but I feel like there's some unfulfilled kind of potential there. But there we go. That's it. Texas Chainsaw, 50 years. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. I certainly have. This has flown for me. Man, amazing. I can't wait to see it again. Alaska, you're about to go see it again in about an hour or so, aren't you? In about half an hour?
Yeah, probably less than an hour, about 30 minutes.
God damn, man. Amazing.
Enjoy it, bro. Enjoy it.
Thank you, man. And it's nice because the theater's right outside my office, so I don't even have to go far.
Oh, nice.
Perfect. Last thing then, I ask everyone before they leave, the last great thing you watched, could be old, could be new, just the last great thing you watched, could be TV, could be film, doesn't have to be horror, could be anything. Thomas, last great thing you watched.
The new series, Industry.
That's mine.
Great.
High five, my friend.
So good, yeah. Every episode is just like a panic attack, a bit exhilarating panic attack. Yeah. And just when there's a scene in the final episode where somebody gets a bullet to the head and it's just like, whoa, that hurt. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, watch it. Like, I didn't love the first 2 series. They were good, but the third series, I'm like, this show has now gone from like a 4 to a 5 out of 5. So
yes, my man. Literally mine. Last great thing I watched was Industry. Mike?
Substance.
Oh, that was my second thing. Fair play to you, my friend.
I've not seen it.
It's so good. Thank you, Mike, for making me watch that.
It's so fun.
I love Demi Moore, so I'm really excited to see it.
Oh, God, yeah. Margot Qualley, isn't it? In Margaret Qualley,
Yes,
in there?
that's my girl. She's great.
Yeah, she's great in The Leftovers, by the way. I don't know if you ever watched The Leftovers.
I love
Leftovers was great.
Leftovers. Yep.
Leftovers
I think
podcast.
she steals the Tarantino movie too, you know, like Once Upon a Time in
She's
America.
great
Like,
in that. She's really good in that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Great.
But Tarantino has such a foot fetish. Like he always shows her feet, and you're just like, what are you doing? It's weird.
They know what they're getting into now, surely. Alaska, for you, last great thing you watched?
I watched a movie this morning called Snack Shack.
I love that film.
It was so good.
Comedy. Nowadays,
great
getting good
coming
comedy.
of age film.
Coming of age.
1991.
Yeah.
At the end, like, you know, it seems like it's
Never
just
heard
gonna be like a sort of like summer romp comedy, but then it just like gets deep at the end, and it's like,
yeah. Honestly,
you know, it definitely teared up. Like at the end, I was like, oh my god, like.
I'm so glad you like it as well, man, because not a lot of people talk about it. And the main guys from that Spielberg film is in The Fabelmans. I think he's in The Fabelmans. That's the only reason I know it. Yeah, the lad in it is in The Fabelmans. He's really good in The Fabelmans. But in this, it's completely different. He's completely different. But no, you know what it is?
It's got the meth
comedies.
chemist from Breaking Bad as well, plays one of the dads.
Yes, it does.
I think Shelley was his name, maybe?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, Shake Shack. There you go. There you go, people. Much love. Thank you again. Go about your business now. You can do your thing. I'll let you off. And we've got the Terminator Nightmare on Elm Street in Texas coming up this month. Halloween. Look at that. Excellent. What Halloween. And hopefully we do a few more of these. So yeah, much love.